If you had met me 10 years ago, you would have said I was the luckiest woman in Lagos. A beautiful woman, a rich husband, a mansion in a gated estate, imported cars, designer bags stacked in walk-in closets. Women envied me, men admired me, and I loved it. I loved every second of it. Hi, welcome to Tales by Mom J. Here we bring you intriguing stories that teach great moral lessons. If these are the kinds of stories you like, please do well to hit the subscribe button and let's get right into today's story. My name is Ifeoma Okeke and I was born in a village that most people in Lagos have never even heard of. A small dusty town in Anambra where life moved slowly and painfully. We were 9 children. 9. Imagine that. A 2-room mud house, 11 people. My father was a struggling palm wine tapper. My mother, she sold roasted corn by the roadside. There was never enough food, never enough clothes, never enough anything. I remember nights when we would all sleep on mats on the floor, our stomachs growling so loudly that none of us could sleep. My mother would say, "Tomorrow will be better." But tomorrow never was. I hated that house. I hated the smell of smoke from the kitchen. I hated the cracked walls. I hated the shame of wearing torn uniforms to school. But most of all, I hated the feeling that life had already decided my future. Because girls from my village, they all usually become only 2 things: market women or wives, sometimes both. By the time they were 22, they already had 2 children tied to their backs and tired eyes that looked 40 years old. I would watch them and whisper to myself, this will not be my life. Something strange started happening when I turned 16. Men began noticing me, not small boys, men, teachers, traders, drivers, visitors from the city. They would stare at me longer than necessary. Women would whisper when I passed. One afternoon, my aunt looked at me carefully and said something that changed me. This girl will not suffer. I laughed. How? She smiled slowly. Beauty is currency. At the time, I did not understand, but I soon would. Getting into university felt like escaping prison. I studied like a mad person because I knew education was my only official way out. When my admission letter finally came, my mother cried. My father said proudly, "Our daughter will become somebody." But the truth was, we had no money. None. University fees were a mountain my family could not climb. That was when beauty truly began working for me. In my first
Hey, you
semester,
look
I
like you
met
could use some
Chinedu,
company.
a
Maybe I
final
could.
year
Why don't you join
student.
me?
His
I'd
father
love
was
to.
rich. He
Hey,
noticed
you look
me
like you could use some
immediately,
company.
the way men
Maybe I
always
could. Why
did.
don't you join me?
Within 2
I'd
weeks, he
love
was
to.
paying my school fees, buying textbooks, sending me money for feeding. At first, I felt guilty, but poverty has a way of silencing guilt. Soon, I learned something important. There were many Chinedus in this world, and they all loved beautiful girls. By my second year, life had changed. I was no longer the poor village girl struggling to survive. I had nice clothes, good phones, hair that cost more than my mother's monthly income. Different boyfriends came and went. Rich boys, politicians' sons, businessmen. Some loved me, some just wanted me. But all them paid for my life. My roommates used to joke, Ifeoma doesn't work. She is sponsored. And they were right. I told myself something simple. One day, I will marry a rich man and all of this will end. That was the dream. Find one rich husband, live well. Never return to poverty again. After graduation came the next big step, NYSC. When I saw my posting letter, I almost screamed. I screamed actually. Lagos State, Lagos, the city of opportunity, the city where rich men lived, the city where dreams either exploded or died. But I was not afraid. Because by now, I understood the one weapon I carried everywhere, my beauty. My posting to Chevron Oil Company during service year was not an accident. It was arranged. Connections, promises, flirting, negotiations, call it whatever you want. I called it survival. The first day I entered the Chevron office in Lekki, I felt like I had stepped into another universe. Glass buildings, luxury cars, men wearing suits that cost more than my father's entire house. I knew immediately this is where my future husband will come from. The day I met Emeka Okonkwo changed everything. He walked into the office like a man who owned the air around him. Tall, confident, expensive watch, sharp suit, the kind of man people stand up for without being asked. When our eyes met, I saw something familiar. That look, the same look men had given me all my life. But this time, it felt different. Because Emeka was not a student, he was not a small boy, he was already rich, very rich. He owned oil service companies, properties across Lagos, and that mansion in the estate where I now live, or used to live. Our relationship moved fast, very fast. Dinner dates, weekend trips, expensive gifts. Within 6 months, he proposed. People said I was lucky, but luck had nothing to do with it. I'd planned my escape from poverty for years. Emeka was simply the final door. When we married, my village celebrated like someone had won a national award. My mother said proudly, our daughter married a billionaire. And I believed my story had ended happily. But life is a wicked storyteller. From the beginning, Emeka wanted children. He came from a big Igbo family and believed children were wealth. But I had different plans. I loved my body, my beauty, my freedom. I had seen what pregnancy did to women in my village. Stretch marks, weight gain, sagging bodies, tired faces. I did not escape poverty just to lose the one thing that brought me here, my beauty. So I smiled sweetly and told him, not yet. Year one passed, year two passed, year three passed. I was always on birth control pills, quietly, secretly, without his knowledge. I told myself there was still time, but time is a thief. By the fifth year of our marriage, Emeka started changing. He stayed out late, phone calls he took outside, business trips that lasted longer than necessary. Women began appearing in rumors. At first, I ignored it. Rich men cheat. Everyone knows this. But one night, he said something that froze my heart. Ifeoma, I want a child. Not even once. I need a child. His voice had changed. It sounded like a demand. For the first time, I felt something unfamiliar. Fear. But I ignored the conversation as usual, quickly raising up other issues to distract his attention. But Emeka just got up and walked out of the house. The day the pregnant girl arrived at the mansion was the day my world shattered. Her name was Adaeze. Young, fresh, barely 25, and pregnant with my husband's child. She stood confidently in my compound, speaking to Emeka as I watched them from the window upstairs, and said the words that still echo in my ears. I'm pregnant, Emeka. I laughed at first, a bitter laugh. But then she placed the ultrasound scan on Emeka's hand, and Emeka did not deny it. That was when my heart began to break. With rage, I ran downstairs, confronting the both of them. Adaeze had only one condition. If she was going to give birth to Emeka's child, he must marry her. I thought Emeka would reject the idea immediately, but I saw something dangerous in his eyes. Desperation. He wanted that child more than anything, more than me. Suddenly, I became a woman racing against the clock. Fertility clinics, hormone injections, native doctors, church vigils, everywhere. I begged God for a miracle. Just one pregnancy, one child. That was all I needed to secure my place. But miracles did not come. Months passed. My body remained silent. One evening, Emeka returned home and said quietly, Ifeoma, I've agreed. I felt my chest tightened. Agreed to what? He looked away. I will marry her. Just like that. My entire world collapsed in one sentence. The wedding happened quickly, too quickly. Adeze became Emeka's second wife, and then came the final humiliation. She refused to live anywhere else. Her condition was simple. I will only stay in the mansion, our mansion, my home, my kingdom, the place where I once walked like a queen. Now I was sharing it with the woman carrying my husband's child. Watching Adeze moved around the house was torture. Her pregnant belly growing, the servant suddenly treating her with respect, Emeka checking on her constantly, buying baby clothes, talking about nursery rooms, things he had once dreamed of doing with me. Now he was doing them with her. Every night I stayed at the mirror, looking for the girl who once believed beauty could control life. But the woman staring back looked different, older, tired, and afraid. For the first time in my life, I faced a terrifying truth. Beauty had opened doors, but it could not stop time. It could not create children. It could not guarantee love. And now, it could not save my marriage. While my world was collapsing, another woman was quietly watching everything unfold. Nkechi, the same woman I once ignored, the same woman I had once treated like she did not exist. Life had come full circle because now, for the first time in many years, I was the one living in shame. If you had asked me 2 years earlier what the worst humiliation a woman could face was, I would have said something simple: being poor. Because poverty strips a person of dignity. But I was wrong. There's something worse than poverty, much worse. It is watching another woman live the life that used to belong to you while you are still alive. That was my reality. And the worst part, I could not even leave. Because where exactly would I go? Back to the village I fought so hard to escape? Back to poverty I had sworn never to see again? No, I stayed. And every day inside that mansion became a slow burning punishment. Adeze moved into the mansion like she had always belonged there. At first, she pretended to be respectful, soft voice, polite greetings, calling me Auntie Ifeoma. But pregnancy does something strange to power dynamics, especially when the pregnancy carries the only child a rich man has been praying for. Within weeks, everything in the house began to shift. The maids who once rushed to attend to me now divided their loyalty. The chef began asking Adeze what she wanted to eat before preparing meals. Even the security guards greeted her with the same respect they used to reserve only for me. I hated it, every second of it. But the most painful change was Emeka. I had never seen him like this before. Attentive, protective, excited. He attended doctor's appointments with Adeze, bought baby clothes, talked endlessly about the future. Emeka was assembling a baby crib, humming happily. The same man who once begged me for a child, now building a future with someone else. I stood there quietly until he noticed me. He looked uncomfortable, almost guilty, but only for a moment. Then he said something that shattered whatever hope I still carried. You should try to be happy for the family. The family, not our family, just family. Sleep became difficult after that. Every night I lay awake replaying my past decisions, the pills, the lies, the excuses, the arrogance. How many times had Emeka begged me? How many times had I laughed it off? I had believed something foolish, that time would wait for me, that beauty would always give me control. Now time had moved on without asking my permission, and my beauty was beginning to fade. Word travels very fast in Lagos Estate, especially when scandal is involved. Soon the entire neighborhood knew. The rich businessman with two wives under one roof. People pretended to be polite when they saw me, but I could feel the whispers behind my back, the pity, the gossip, and then there was Nkechi. Before all this began, Nkechi was just another woman in the estate, quiet, reserved, the type of person I barely noticed, except for one moment, one embarrassing moment I wish I could erase. It happened during an estate meeting. 2 years ago, everyone had gathered in the park to discuss security issues. Nkechi tried to speak during the meeting, but I interrupted her. I remember the way my friends and I laughed. I remember saying something cool. Some people should focus on fixing their own lives before advising others. The meeting burst into uncontrollable laughter. Nkechi had gone quiet after that. She never spoke again during those gatherings. At the time, it meant nothing to me, but life has a strange way of balancing humiliation. Now the same woman watched my downfall from a distance, not with mockery, but with something worse: compassion. The pregnancy entered its seventh month when something unexpected happened. Adeze collapsed in the living room one afternoon. The maid screamed. The house became chaos. Emeka rushed her to the hospital. I followed quietly behind. At the hospital, the doctors began speaking in low, serious voices. Complication, high blood pressure, risks to both mother and child. For the first time since Adeze arrived, fear entered Emeka's eyes, real fear, the kind that strips away arrogance. The doctor explained the situation carefully. Adese's pregnancy had developed severe complications. She would need constant monitoring, bed rest, and possibly early delivery. Emeka spared no expense. The best specialist, private hospital, every treatment available. But stress hung over the house like heavy clouds. The breaking point came on a rainy Thursday night. Emeka and Adeze were discussing baby names in the living room, laughing, planning, dreaming. I stood on the staircase, listening, invisible, unnecessary. For the first time in my life, I felt like a stranger in my own home. Something inside me finally snapped. I walked upstairs, packed a suitcase, and left. No shouting, no drama, just quiet surrender. But life surprises us in strange ways. Because when I walked out of the mansion that night, the first person I saw was Nkechi. She was standing outside her house watching the rain. When she saw my suitcase, she walked over slowly. She didn't ask questions. She didn't judge. She simply said something that stunned me. "You can stay at my place tonight." I stared at her, confused, embarrassed, ashamed. This was the same woman I had once humiliated publicly, and yet she was offering me shelter. That was the moment I truly understood something powerful. Sometimes the people we look down on are the very ones who show us grace when we fall. That night, I slept in Nkechi's guest room. For the first time in months, I slept peacefully because deep down, I knew something important. My life as Emeka's trophy wife was over. But maybe, just maybe, my real life was about to begin. Did you enjoy the story just as much as I did? If you did, share it to as many people you want to enjoy as well. And hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Like the video, leave a comment. Thank you so much. I'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.